Welcome back to Kaylee Daily. Today's question is, how do I know if this is labor or Braxton Hicks?
This is Kaylee Daily, the bi-weekly podcast about all things doula tips and tips, where we answer one question about pregnancy, labor, postpartum, or lactation in order to have your journey in this parenting world be just a little bit more informed and filled with consent.
Welcome back to another episode of Kaylee Daily, Doula Tips and Tits. I'm Kaylee Harrod, your host, and today's question is, how do I know if this is labor or Braxton Hicks? Now, anyone who has experienced significant Braxton Hicks or frequent Braxton Hicks contractions has had this question. I would say, I'll boldly state that I think everyone has had this question. But first, what is a Braxton Hicks contraction? So when I say that, what it is really a practice contraction, a contraction that is your uterus getting firm and contracting. So the muscle that is your uterus contracting, but it's not leading to birth of the baby, right? So it's not labor in that it doesn't dilate your cervix and start the work of actually giving birth. So there are a few different parts of this that I want to talk about because labor is tricky in that it feels and is different for everyone, right? And you have heard me talk about the nuances of all of these questions that I answer if you've been around here for these podcasts for any length of time. So today's question is no different, right? There are some guidelines for how you can kind of figure out if this is labor or not, but also nobody can tell you exactly what labor or Braxton Hicks will feel like to you. And so part of it is a little bit of troubleshooting on your part as that's happening. Okay. So first of all, what are Braxton Hicks like? So typically they do not have any kind of rhythm. They, and I'll explain what I mean about that in a second. They don't have a rhythm. They don't have, a very defined start and stop. Sometimes they do, but oftentimes they don't. Sometimes they feel like just one long crazy cramp. And some people don't really feel much of anything. They just that their uterus gets really hard, right? So those are some characteristics of Braxton Hicks. They are very, very, very impacted by your activity level and your hydration. So I have clients get a lot more Braxton Hicks in the summertime, or if they're going to an event or working or taking a trip or something like that, where they're walking around all over the place, or they're not drinking enough water, or they're outside in the hot, in the hot weather or whatever. It's more common to have Braxton Hicks as a response to something like that, right? So because of that, one of my things when I'm helping a client kind of troubleshoot, is this labor or is it Braxton Hicks contractions, is to have them drink a large glass of water, lie down to take a nap, and then see if they have a definitive start and stop. So if you can really tell this is the beginning, this is the end, then you can do timing of them. So when I talk about a rhythm of contractions, what I mean is that they have a predictable time frame. So maybe they're 30 seconds long and they come every 12 to 13 minutes, okay? Or they're a minute long and they come every 5 to 6 minutes. Braxton Hicks tend to be all over the place, both in length and frequency. So they might be 30 seconds long, and then they come every 18, and then 6, and then 20, and then 9, and they're just all over. And then the length can also vary. So I've had clients say I think I'm having a 5-minute contraction, and I'm that's not probably a contraction. It's most likely your uterus is irritated, right? That's you're feeling the hardness. It's not necessarily painful, but that is almost always resolved by relaxation and rest and hydration. So that's one thing. The other thing is that Braxton Hicks don't continue and intensify. So the first thing, if you think maybe this is early labor, but I can't tell if it's early labor or Braxton Hicks, is to see if there's a timing that is rhythmic, right? So do they come kind of in a pattern? And see um, if they have like a tightening that is just a tightening, or if they have a tightening that feels like a little bit progressive, like it peaks and comes down. Okay. A sensation that's similar but not the same, which I actually talked about this some in my contraction episode, which I will link in the show notes if you haven't watched that one, or listened to it. Either way, these lovely episodes are on YouTube as well, so if you prefer watching them, that is one way you can do that. But it kind of feels like when you get a cramp in another part of your body, where you can kind of feel it building, and then it like gets the like peak of it happens, and then it comes down. There are a couple key differences. Like, for one, you know that it's going to happen because if you're in labor, you're going to have another contraction, right? And then one after that, and then one after that. If you have a cramp like in your leg or something, then you don't know that it's coming, and you have to do something to make it go away, where labor contractions go away on their own, right? So oftentimes with Braxton Hicks, I have people tell me like they don't feel that peak, right? They just feel the tightness. They feel it tighten like crazy maybe, but like they don't necessarily feel the ebb and flow that is usually labor contractions. Then the other thing that you would look for is just how it progresses. Like, if you're contracting right now and it's 11 a.m., that's what time it is right now for me, and you are, um, and you're like, you lay down, you take a nap, you drink some water, and then you're timing them to see if they have a rhythm. They don't really have a rhythm. But then, like in an hour or 2 hours, if they're gone or they've changed, they've lessened, they've like, kind of petered out, gotten more irregular, definitely not labor, right? If they have progressed in intensity or timing and they're becoming more rhythmic, that is a higher likelihood of being labor. Okay. Now today's episode is not touching on a lovely gift called prodromal labor, but we will touch on that in another episode in the near future. And this one, though, I want you to just have a few tools to figure out which you're experiencing. So remember, if they are rhythmic and they progress in intensity and timing, most likely labor, or, at least a higher chance of that. If they have no rhythm, they're totally random, or they're mostly random, they do not increase in intensity, and they respond to like rest and hydration, they go away when you do those things, that's when I would say you definitely have Braxton Hicks. Okay. Now, one last like little tidbit that is kind of related but not entirely related is not every single person has Braxton Hicks contractions. Sometimes as I have clients nearing their due date, they'll say to me like, Kaylee, I don't think my body is preparing at all because I literally feel nothing. And I've had that conversation with someone in the morning time and said like, hey, you are eventually going to have your baby. And she's like, I don't think I am. My body's doing nothing. And I'm like, no, you will. And then that night she had her baby. So that's kind of a, a more dramatic situation, but it does not mean that you're not going to go into labor. Okay. And some people have a lot of Braxton Hicks to the point that they're like, I'm never going to actually go into labor. I'm just going to have Braxton Hicks for the rest of my life. Right. And so both sides of that can be kind of discouraging, but I want you to know that both sides are very normal. Neither side is dangerous. And the more you can sort of open yourself up to just be curious about how it's going to progress and happen for you, the more ease you have accepting things that come, whether that's lots of Braxton Hicks or no Braxton Hicks, or a baby that's overdue, which I don't even like that term, but a baby that's hasn't come yet, even though the due date went past. All of that is normal, right? And so giving your body and yourself some space to rest in what's happening and be curious about how this journey will go for you is a really good way to set yourself up. So as always, this is not medical advice. I am not your medical provider. This is education and entertainment, and I want you to use it as such. I look forward to seeing you on the next episode. In the meantime, have well-informed, consent-filled births and postpartums. Talk to you soon.
Edited and produced by Kaylee Harrod, as I'm sure you can probably tell. And our amazing music is credited in the show notes as well. So we look forward to seeing you on the next episode. And in the meantime, have wonderful and consent-filled births.